and welcome to our July 5 for 5 workshop. I hope you're excited to dive into this amazing, fun new DigiFile, as well as the 5 projects that we're going to create this month. Now, this month I did switch it up a little bit. We decided to do 3 cards and 2 bookmarks or tags. So let's go ahead and switch over to that top view and get right to it. So this month we used Best Day. It's a set of 8 Digi stamps and it's so much fun. Today actually we're going to be creating this project without fuzzy cutting any of the blooms or the pieces that we've got here. We're going to use them more of a frame, create more of a frame than we are going to create an actual embellishment or pop out. So Best Day is the digital file for the month of July, and we used powdered sugar, we used black taffy, we've got some tangy orange as well as rich tangerine, some sour mist, and some sweet cane. So this is our color palette for this month's 5 for 5. And let's go ahead and start prepping our kit here. We're going to use our sour mist cardstock as one of our card layers. Typically what I like to do for my 5 for 5 workshops is I like to cut everything out during the class so that you can actually see the prep work, the behind the scenes. We're going to go ahead and score this at 5.5 to create our card base. I hope you guys are excited to dive into this 5 for 5. It's actually a pre-recorded workshop, which is a little different for me. I'm so used to having a live audience. So forgive me if I start speaking to you like you're here during my recording, but I'm actually going to speak to you like you're here because you're watching it. So I'm going to speak to you, future person. I've got Ms. G here in the studio, and Miss Shell's roaming around somewhere as well. So I'll be speaking to them on your behalf. Or on, they're going to speak to me on your behalf, I guess is what I should say. All right, we also want a sweet cane card base for our card number 2. I'm creating all of my card bases, and then I'll come back and create my layers. So far I've got my sour mist card base, my sweet cane card base. We're gonna need a tangerine because this month we decided to make 3 cards instead of 2. And we're gonna go ahead and score this at 5.5 as well. Now, if you're new to card making, this is just an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, basically cut in half. So at 4 1/4, we have a half of a card in landscape, and at 5.5, we have an 8.5 by 11 cut in half in landscape. Sorry, vertical versus landscape. All right, so we've got our 3 cards here. So tangerine card base, sour mist card base, and sweet cane card base. So these are the 3 cards that we're going to be using. We're going to wait to cut the pieces for our tags until we're done creating our cards. So in the meantime, let's start creating some of these layers, and we're actually going to use our tangy orange, to create 3 different card layers for all 3 of these cards. Okay, so we're going to come in at 5 inches. And from 5, we're going to go to 3 3/4, and we want 3 of these layers, okay? Because we're going to utilize them. We want them to look unified. We want all the projects to belong. We want them to be a part of the same story. So we're going to go ahead and blend them together by using the same color layer on all 3 of the cards. They do have a different background, but we're going to use the same color layer on all 3 of the cards. So this is tangy orange, and we need 3 of them at 5 by 3 3/4. Now we're going to come in and we're going to do 2 layers of our sour mist at 5 3/4. I'm sorry, this one's going to be smaller. So this one's 4 3/4 by 3.5. We need 2 of those. 4 3/4 by 3.5. So this one is going to go onto our sweet cane card. 4 3/4 by 3.5. So we need 2 of those in Sour Mist. And one is going to go on the Tangerine card, and the other one is going to go on the Sweet Cane card. Now our Sour Mist card is going to have a layer of Sweet Cane. So same size, 3.5 by 4 3/4. Perfect. So now all 3 cards should have 3 different layers. Your card base, your second layer, and your third. Card base, second layer, and third. Card base, second layer, and third. And all the sizes are exactly the same. We're just using the different colors and the different tones for each. The last thing that we need to do to create our card kit is to create 3 additional layers of powdered sugar. That's going to go on the very top of all of our layers. So that means we're going to go 4.5 by 3 1/4. And we want 3 of these, okay? So here we've got 2 and 3 1/4 by 4.5. So easy to create our card kits. And basically that's kind of what I like to walk you through when we're doing our 5 for 5, so that you can in fact see the various different layers and how easy it is for us to cut and prep them so that we can get started. Again, we're going to come back and use some black taffy to create the layers for our tags, but for now let's just get started with our cards. So we've got our card layers here. We're going to set these aside a little bit. We're going to try to keep them together so that our layers don't get mixed up. And I do have a scrap of black taffy here that I'm going to be die cutting. We're going to be using our circles. We've got a scrap of black taffy here, and we're going to be using our circle dies. So let's see if I have those right here. I do. Now, if you don't have this size circle, you can always use a punch. If you prefer to use a punch, whichever is going to be best for you is fine. So I'm using my ring layers, and I'm going to grab the smallest of the circles that I have, and I'm going to cut that in black taffy. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that. And I want 3 circles. Again, I'm going for consistency with all my cards, because what's so great about creating the 5 for 5 is that all your projects match. At least I personally love that about the 5 for 5, is that my projects all match and they are ready to go. Perfect as a little gift too, if you want to gift it away to someone. So I'm going to create 3 of these circles. As a matter of fact, I have 2 of my die sets, so I'm just going to grab that second one and I'm going to die cut them at the same time so that I don't have to run this 3 different times. I just have to use my various different dies. Beautiful. Now I get to put my dice back so I don't lose them. And I've got all 3 of my circles. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start working with my Digifile. Now this month I cheated a little bit because I decided not to cut or color anything out. I did decide to cut out some of my sentiments, but for the most part, everything is a straight cut. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my scissors, guys, and I'm just gonna go as close to the edge as I can. I'm gonna first cut this guy out. Then I'm gonna come here and cut this guy out and that guy out. I want all the sentiments out for the most part, because one of the easiest way to do this is if I bring this into my trimmer, because I want really straight cuts. So once I'm here, I'm just gonna create the first cut. I'm gonna come create my second, and I'm basically just creating a frame around my bloom. So I want them to be in this perfect little frame. Okay, so I'm gonna do that to all 4 of my blooms here. Okay, we've got 2 here. Again, I want to be very careful because my sentiments are going to be completely different to these blooms. Some of the sentiments I am going to fuzzy cut a little bit, and this is just going to help me decide which ones. So I'm basically just trimming around the edge, and in some cases you might get a little bit closer than others, and that's perfectly okay. All we want is straight lines. I feel like I need a new blade. I'm starting to get the fuzzies. So see how we trimmed off just a little bit on that edge? It's perfectly okay. And last one here. And perfect. All right, so now we've got all of our card layers here. We can throw away the scraps that are too small, and you can hold on to the scraps that you want to hold on to. You know me, I want to hold on to as many as possible. And now we're gonna cut out some of these guys, okay? I'm gonna leave the start now in this big form, and I'm gonna trim around these. They might be a little different than my original, but I like to have a variety, because these I am gonna fuzzy cut. To bring to life a little differently. Okay, so that's one. This is a card I'm going to send to myself.
Send it to yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can.
There you go.
and Best Day here. Originally I used Best Day for my tag last time, but this time I'm gonna go ahead and keep it. All right, so we've cut out 3 of the sentiments and we're leaving this one as is, and I'll explain why as we get closer. All right, so let's go ahead and move these out of the way a little bit. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start putting some of these projects together. So let's go ahead and create our layers together and unified here. Start putting together all of our layers. Now I'm actually going to add these 3 layers together, no pop, and then I'm gonna, when in doubt, pop this one out to our card base. Okay, so let's go ahead and pop that right out. Beautiful. Now we're gonna grab our black circle and we're gonna attach that towards the lower part of our card. Okay, so this lower part of the card is what we're looking for. We're gonna grab the longer little frame and we're going to go ahead and, when in doubt, we're gonna pop this one out as well. Make sure you're generous with your foam square for this one because the technique that we're gonna bring onto this might require to really hold on. And I'm just removing some of my fuzzies out of the way because clearly I need to replace my blade. When in doubt, we're gonna pop this out one more time. And we're gonna bring our sentiment here, yes, you can. So it's kind of like a combination blackout card, not blackout card, because it's a spotlight blackout card, which is super cool. All right, beautiful. We're gonna set that aside. That card is pretty much done. We have to come back and add color. And that's actually where the magic is gonna come in. So next we're gonna bring in our landscape card. Same thing, we're gonna adhere all of our layers first. Then we're gonna mount it with foam onto our card base. I like to make the 5x5s easy to replicate because I think it's gonna give you more leverage when it comes to finding comfort in creating your projects and bringing them to life. Beautiful. We're gonna go ahead and add our circle. Kind of more towards the center there. And we're gonna bring in one of our frames. Also, we're gonna pop this out. And just you is our sentiment for this project. I love these sentiments because they're not your traditional sentiments. They're sentiments that really evoke an action or they evoke a feeling or an emotion versus just a sentiment, right? They're just you what? Just you wait until we celebrate your birthday. Just you wait until we get together. I miss you. Just you what? What is it that you want to say? And so it kind of leaves me to want to open that card and see what your message is all about, which is what I love about these cards. Yes, you can come over. Yes, you can make amazing happen. Yes, you can become whatever it is you want to become, you know. And so you've got so many different opportunities for these sentiments to just kind of go around and around and turn them into the message that speaks to your heart for that person. All right, so we've got our card base here, and this one's going to go on the top. So we've got this one at the bottom, this one in the center, this one's going to go towards the top. We're going to bring in our beautiful flowers here. This is like a morning glory flower almost. And now we're going to be adding our best day. So beautiful. Look how beautiful those cards are, guys. Just like that. If you didn't want to do anything else to it, these cards are absolutely beautiful. They're simple, they're clean, and they can evoke a variety of different emotions and feelings and really get somebody's day going, or somebody's mood off to a great start. But we're obviously going to bring them to life even more in just a little bit. Let's switch gears now and jump over to our tags. We only have 2 pieces left. And how are we going to create 2 tags out of just 2 pieces? Well, we've got 1 for each. So let's go ahead and move these out of the way. Our cards are pretty much done. We just have to bring them to life a little differently. We've got a couple of tags, and these tags are 2.5 by 5.5 inches. So let's cut 2.5 by 5.5 inches out of a black taffy card base. So 5.5 inches by 2.5, and obviously we need 2 tags, so let's create them. Beautiful. So we've got our 2 tags here, 2.5 by 5.5 inches. Both of these tags have a sour mist card layer or tag layer. So if it's 2.5 by 5.5, then our layer needs to be 5 1/4 by 2 1/4. And lastly, we're going to add a 3rd layer of powdered sugar. And we're bringing this one at 5 inches by 2 inches. And of course, we need 2. Ta-da and ta-da. Super, super easy. We're going to leave our paper trimmer here to the side, and let's go ahead and adhere all of these layers. Beautiful. Okay, so now we want to grab our crocodile, and I've got it set at the 1/2 mark setting, and I'm also using the 3/16 inch circle or punch, 3/16 at the 1/2 inch setting, and I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to punch, and I'm going to punch. So now that gives us our tags. Super cute, or you can do bookmarks depending on what you'd like. Now we've got start now, and we've got these sleeves. So I'm gonna do something a little crazy, okay? I'm gonna snip in a crazy way. Snip. I'm not really trying to go straight. I kind of went a little off the rails there, so we kind of clean that up. And for here, I'm going to snip. I'm going to go a little cattywampus and snip. So you've got creative license. Check out what I did. I just kind of went and this one is a little bit more of a straight edge. I'm going to go ahead and adhere these two black taffy. Now my flower layer or my leaf layer, I'm going to go flush all the way to the edge of my cardstock. This one I want to come in a little bit more. I'm going to trim around this. I'm creating a frame, guys, like so. Okay? Now, when in doubt, I'm going to pop this guy right out. I'm going to put it right over my Start Now call out. I'm going to go ahead and place that right about there. And then I'm going to trim the excess flush to the edge of my tag. So there's my first one. This one's already cut on the edge, so I'm just going to trim. I'm going to trim, and I'm going to trim again. So I only have this, and this one's going to come all the way to the edge right about there. Look how fun these tags actually look. I'm going to go a little bit higher on this one. So I've got my two tags. Start Now. This is great for a book or even a gift. Like, hey, maybe somebody wants to do something fun and they don't know how to get started. Well, what if you gift them a book on how to get started? And here's the tag that says Start Now. Wow, what a fun way to start their dream or to make that happen. I love that idea. And same thing here. All right, guys, all of our projects are done. We just need to bring them to life a little bit more. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to try to puzzle these in here because I'm going to do the same thing to all of them, okay? Watch me bring this to life so differently than we've ever done before. So what we're going to do here is we're going to grab our super fun Sour Mist ink pad. And we're going to just squeeze some color onto here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my Dazzling Pat and I'm going to pour it over my Sour Mist ink. I've never done that before, but I'm going to mix the colors together. So I'm going to grab one of my fan brushes. I love using my fan brushes for this. So I'm going to use one of my fan brushes and I'm just going to mix it all in. You can also come back and spritz a little bit more water to activate the color. Now remember, there's going to be a lot of glitz from the Dazzling Pat. So now that we have it, we're going to come in here and we're going to start fanning that color as much as you want or as little as you want. We want that brush, we want that dust. This brush is a little dirty, so it's letting go some of my black on it because I usually use it to splatter in black. So I'm going to try not to go so heavy on it. Actually, I'm going to swap it because it's just going to make my cards dirty. We're going to spritz some more water and we're going to come in. And I love that fanning technique. It's going to look beautiful and lustrous. So fun. If you run out, then simply make some more. I don't want my ink pad to get any of the Dazzling Pat sparkle on it. So I'm just going to make sure that I have a really good clean surface so that I remove all the glitter or the sparkle from the Dazzling Pat. If you wanted to do this on a workable sheet, you can also do that. If you don't want to use your ink pad and you happen to have your sugar drop, let me see if I have a sugar drop here. I might not because I wasn't prepared for that. But you can also use your sugar drop instead of your ink pad. I just happen to have my ink pad nearby. No Sweet Blue. Let me see. I wanted to show you that if I could. But Sweet Blue again. How many Sweet Blues do I have? Alright, let's just do it with the ink pad, guys, because I can't seem to find my Sour Mist sugar drops. Oh, Miss G found it. Miss G for the win. Alright, so again, if you wanted to, you can add a couple of your Sour Mist sugar drops instead of your ink. Now remember that the sugar drops are a lot more saturated than your ink pads, okay? So just keep that in mind. We're going to come back and add a few drops of our Dazzling Pat. And with our wet brush, we are going to mix that all up. Make all that deliciousness happen. And we're going to come in and blotch. We're going to blotch all over. It's not just about our flowers. We kind of taught this technique a little bit with Card Club, but now we've added the Dazzling Pat to the mix. And it really helps bring this to life completely differently. I love it. It's sparkly, it's beautiful, it's amazing. I'm going to come back and add some more here, especially underneath my card layer, because this one was a little got a little bit darker because of I was using my black splattering brush. So you want to definitely make sure that you let that dry completely. But look how fun the brush of color comes to life here. I love it. All right, we're gonna wipe this off again. Again, you want to make sure that you have all that glitter picked up before you bring your ink pad again, or else the ink pad's gonna pick it up and it will be very difficult to get it out of your sugar cube. It just won't do it. Again, if you feel a little bit safer, don't do it on your glass mat. Go ahead and do it on a workable sheet that you can just toss. All right, beautiful. So now what we want to do is we're going to splatter all of these using some white splattering. I'm going to grab my splattering brush here. Just really brings it to life in a completely different way. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's so artful. And while it's still drying, you can come back and add some glitz, some glam. I'm going to add a little bit more of my pearls here. So let me go ahead and help dry it some. Be careful not to oversaturate your cardstock with water. So you have to make sure that you're lightly tapping the surface of the cardstock on the very top, because remember, this is not watercolor paper. Now our 100 pound cover cardstock tends to help because it's a lot thicker and it can withstand a little bit more mediums. But if you're using 80-pound cardstock, you definitely want to be very careful with how you actually add some of the water with the color and the dazzling pat, because there's an oversaturation of water and it's going to start bubbling your cardstock. Now, it's not anything you can't repair, but you would have to wait till it completely dries so that you can then flatten back your cardstock by gluing it down all over. Alright, so the cards are beautiful. I love them. The very end, we actually ended up adding, I'm going to go ahead and add some glitz to this project. I love our brand new black taffy sparkles. Can't wait for you guys to get a hold of them. Look how beautiful those are, guys. I'm having a hard time identifying which are the white paint drops and which is my glue. So usually I like to do them all and then come back, but because the white paint is still wet, I'm just doing them one at a time so I don't forget where I position these. And last but not least, perfect. Alright guys, this is our 5 for 5 for the month of July. I hope you love them as much as I do. Check out, I'm going to see if I can zoom in on some of this sparkle. Let it focus here. Look how beautiful that sparkle comes to life with these fun projects. I know you're going to have a blast, and I can't wait to see your finished projects featuring this month's 5 for 5 exclusive Digi Best Day. And these are 2 tags. Now, to the 2 tags, I did just add a little bit of black ribbon. You can use whatever black ribbon you want, or any color really that you want. So originally I did mine with ribbon, and I need to make sure that it'll dry completely before I come back and add the ribbon. Guys, I hope you had a blast this month creating this month's 5 for 5 Best Day. If you haven't already and we're still in July, make sure you grab your copy so that you don't miss out on any of these projects, any of these techniques. I hope you had a blast. I can't wait to see your projects come to life. Until next time, continue to make amazing happen and bring paper to life. Adios.